Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Venus Blueprint, your spiritual world of beauty, fashion, relationships, self care, and all things Venus. Today, I wanted to talk about the misconception of self care, the sabotage of self care, and how important it is also for people who suffer from depression, anxiety, guilt, fear, that they actually need to live a life of radical self care. So let's start with that one. The whole concept that self care is something that's an additive to your life versus the core foundation of your life, this is one of the things that I truly feel needs to be adjusted. We need to understand that, especially for everyone, because I was going to say for young women, but for everyone, practicing self care is necessary as a core foundation of a good lifestyle. And quite often, self care is just seen as something that you add on 1 or 2 or 3 days of the week. The benefits of having self care in your life will give you the levels of stability that you can't achieve from external things. Because self care has to do with your relationship with your own mind and body. And on regular days, it would be ideal to have self care. And then on difficult days, it would be ideal to radicalize your self care, to up the ante, to double up on it. And I think especially for certain women and moms, certain women who are kind of raised to be nourishing or who just naturally are nourishing, or moms, right? It can be very difficult to activate your self-care. This has a lot to do with the feelings of guilt. And for some reason, there is this need to put other people before you, right? Instead of putting yourself before you. You see, selfishness is a very interesting word. And selfishness is kind of adopted to self-care, but on the contrary, selfishness has a lot to do with not caring about self or others. To be selfish is to think about why it is that you need to do things for yourself. Once you get to the point of being selfish, it's after you have undoubtedly put so much before your own self-care that you're choosing selfishness in a rebellion from the lifestyle that you live in which you're not putting yourself first in the first place. And so we have adopted this concept of selfishness being actual self-care when in a lot of reasons and ways, selfishness is developed because of a deprivation of self-care. So in understanding that, the goal isn't to be more selfish. The goal truly is to build day to day your world, your core foundation of self-care. And so one of the things that you're going to discover in doing this, right? Because when you move to selfishness, you're trying to cheat the code of not feeling guilty. When you move to selfishness, you're trying to go fast beyond the guilt and the things that you don't want to feel. When in fact, the key thing that helps sustainability is feeling those feelings of guilt when you choose yourself in those more acute moments. For example, saying, I need to exercise and I need this time to myself, right? And let's say you're a mother and I need my children to be out of the room, or I need them to know that this is my time, things like that. A lot of ways that would be described as selfish when that's the actual act of self-care. The actual act of self-care isn't this concept of luxury and baths and massages. That could probably be the addition or the radicalization of self-care. But self-care has a lot to do with navigating the emotional spectrum of your own guilt, fears, and shames. You have to recognize where it is that what you are actively doing is going to evoke certain feelings like guilt and shame. And it is in recognizing, wow, I feel guilty about taking time to do my fitness for myself, that's when the actual self-care actually kicks in. That's when you have a chance to be like, no, I'm going to release this guilt from this moment, because if I'm not physically strong for my children, for myself, then I can't really be physically strong for my children. And then I can't really give them the parent, the mother that I want to be. And then in doing it. So true self-care on a regular basis isn't very easy at all. It's about looking at where you self-sabotage. It's looking at where you have these heavy feelings of guilt and shame, and you're speaking love and true self-care into yourself into that moment. So one of the major things that sabotage us from true self-love and self-care, in my opinion, is being selfish. Rather than be selfish, consider how it is that, what is it that you're running from that you have to be selfish for?